earlier, the CSS controls the appearance of your website, right? So it has to do with the font, the color, um, those beautiful interface of your website are controlled by what? The CSS. Now HTML define a website content and structure, right? So I've explained that before. Why the CSS specify designs and presentation. It makes your website look what? Very, very well presentable. And together with both languages, you are you are allowed to create a very designed and well structured web application, right? So we have three ways to link our CSS. And if you notice, the one we'll be using all this while, which is this one, it is the one we also used last week. Trying to see. Okay, if you notice, the one we use, so notice the one we used last week, which is this one we are seeing here, are more of the the inline CSS, right? So, and one of the disadvantage of inline CSS is that when you are using the inline CSS, at a point it become crowded, and even you as the owner of the code, it will be very very difficult for you to be able to what? To arrange those codes. So um because of that, we are going to be using external CSS. Before them, we're also going to be using an internal CSS. So internal CSS are simple, a CSS you leverage on using the same page. Just like CSS you do on the same page, right? We are going to be looking at the internal CSS. Then after then we also look at the external what? External CSS. So let's go to the next page. Now, here is telling us about the definition of CSS, right? Like I explained this in several times. I said the CSS is used to format the layout of what? Of your website, right? So the CSS controls the color, the font, the size, the text, the spacing between elements, right? And how elements are positioned and laid out, background color, background images. So uh, the mobile responsiveness. So these are what you are going to using CSS to achieve. So we've been able to use the inline. All this while we're using the inline CSS. But for today's class, we are going to be using the internal and external CSS. So uh, internal CSS is used to define a style for a single word page. So now, what if you are building a multiple pages? What's going to happen? Let's assume you are building a multiple pages, right? So internal CSS is actually used to use for just one single pages, and the external CSS is defined using inside what? In between the opening tag and the closing tag of the head. That's where you can define the external CSS, and it starts with a style element. So you open the style element and close the style element, you can be able to what? Use the external CSS. So I want to create a file here. Let me create a file. You can call it my page dot html. So this is my page dot html. Um, then first I'm going to do is to generate my starter template. Then after I generated the starter template, next is say okay. Um, this is my article. So this is my page, right? So I would like to. get some few articles here. So I'll call my H1. One of the H1, what the header is all about. So let me look for one of the news platform and just get some information from there. Let me go to Nairaland. I think it's actually one of my favorite news blog. Okay, let me get. Okay, let me. I need just some articles that are very important. So yeah, I have a Linux. Linux, I don't need it right now. I need to just get an article that I'm going to use. So let me just get. Let me go to programming section. This is where I usually spend my time writing some articles on. Okay, I will do a software for you. So journey to React, read, also on it about law as programmers. Okay, okay. Let me quickly copy this. Um, so we have paragraph here. So I'll just copy this. Then this will be here in between my header. Then I paste it here. Then the next one is I'll call the P paragraph. You all know the P paragraph used in adding paragraph in your page. So they also call the P paragraph. But I'm going to use like um, let's say different kind of P. I will not make the job look somehow. So we have this. Let's view this and see what's going to happen. Um, okay, this is what we have here. So let me break this from programming, then break this from entertainment. So I'm breaking this from programming. So I just need to carry my B arrow. Then I'm also breaking from entertainment. So break that from entertainment. I'm also breaking this. I will not have B arrow to break. So having done that, okay, we also need to break from works. Okay, let's break this in from here. So so we can have our break. Sorry. All right. I have this here. Um, this is what I have here. I have this one here too. So can decide to add an image, right? Decide to add an image here, and we can also leave it. Let's duplicate this and let's just duplicate this. Let's just duplicate this information and get another one. Just duplicate, then you press it here. That's what we got here. Okay. Then here we just add horizontal line. Let's just add a horizontal line here to use it to separate the heading and so the here arrow. Horizontal line should be each arrow. Huh? Sorry? What do you say? If you're not seeing my screen, please. If you are seeing my if I see my screen indicate, if I see my screen indicate, please. Other people are seeing my screen now. Maybe it's your network. It- I'm also using phone to. If I'm using phone, use system, use system, use system, use PC. But it's not starting on my own system here. I think it's working fine here. Maybe it's your network. Maybe it's your network. So what I'm going to do here is to see how I can add an image, right? I just need to get an image. Each of them add image, each of them. I maybe come here to add image here and come on this other side to add image. So what I'm going to do is say page. The one we are done, we can now start adding some few stuff. Let me say programming program. I don't need that to get okay. Let me just get any of this image and then use any of those images. So I'm not downloading this image, right? I'm just using this image directly from I'm just using this image directly from trying to get a clear resolution of the image. Please mute your mic. I beg in the name of God, mute your mic. Okay, I think this is okay. Let's continue. So what I will do here is that I would like to add an image in between this P. So I call my A tag. So we now know what the A tag is all about. Then sorry, the IMG tag, which is used to add image. Of course, IMG tag does not have a closing tag. Um, you have the IMG. Then of course, you can see the image is too big, right? John just control the weight of the image. But I'm going to use CSS to do that. I'm going to use CSS to control the weight of the image, not not HTML. So um, let me get another one. Get another one. So this one too. I'm copying it. Then inside this image tag, press it. Okay. Let's check that out. All right. We have quite numbers of images. Um, there's no much things to do here. Let's utilize the let's utilize the let's utilize the CSS, inline CSS. So I'm not using an inline CSS. What I'm using here is what we call the the internal CSS. So for you to add internal CSS, You just need to come in between an opening tag and a closing tag of your head, right? In between these two is where you can be able to add the external CSS. So to add the external CSS, you call the style, right? The style. And I told you every CSS has what we call a property and a value, right? So the property and the value of that CSS. Let's just say I want to I want to control the weights of all the element, the image element in my tag. Like I want to control the weight of all the image elements. Now if you notice here, the image element name is what we call img, right? Then we also have another img. Now if I call the img in my css, right, this is where I will write my css. Opening tag and closing tag of my element is where I can write my css. So I want to what I want to do, I want to use, let's say, control the weight of my img image. So I have img here, I have img here. So anything I apply here with the img will affect all the entire img, which is not really cool, right? But we'll see how I can fix that. So what I need to do is to call the img. Now when enter the img, css have what we call an opening and closing tag. The way, yeah, HTML has an opening and what, and a closing what, and a closing tag, right? If you can see my screen, please indicate. Please stop muting me, stop interrupting me. Please. My screen is fine. Use system. If your my screen is starting, maybe it's your network. I'm using two systems as I'm talking to you. So as I'm doing it, I'm checking another system. So let me go on, please. Don't interrupt me again. No. Thank you. So if you have only if you have question, you can interrupt. But if you don't have question, don't interrupt me. If you can, if your screen not static, leverage on the video. We do recording section. Thank you. Please mute your. Oh God, James, I will mute you. James, I will remove you from the class. If you don't want to mute, I will remove you from the class. Thank you. So what I'm doing now is to call the img image, right? Which is the img. Now the css has what we call an opening and a closing tag, right? So if you want to bring a opening and a closing tag of css, what you need to do, you use this is it angle breaker, all right? You call this angle bracket, right? The angle bracket. So this is what you can see here. This angle bracket is an opening tag and a closing tag of your cs. So all your properties and values goes in between this opening tag and the closing tag. So this is an element. So this element is referring to this image here. So if you want to add like h1, you call the h1 element. It will affect only the h1 element. So if you want to do p, you call the p element. It will affect only just the p element. So the html, the style sheet element has opening and a closing tag. So this angle bracket opening and a closing tag, it is used to close your css. It's used to close what? Your css. So what I want to do here is to, I've already called the img. So this img here is an element, right? It's just an element, right? So what I need to do is here, let's say I want to control the weight, the width of my of my image. So what I need to do here is to type w. So when I type w, see that the list of weight will come out. I click on it, and then when you type the weight, you see this dot, right? This dot is telling you to add the value. So I already added a property which is the weight. Then this semicolon is telling you, it implies that you are done writing the weight. You can now move to the next page or can now move to the next property. So whenever you are done writing your property, this semicolon is used to close that property, and then you move to the next what property and add the value. So this is a property with these two dots. Then they now ask me, I say okay, I just need 300 pixel. So 300 pixels is px. So everything you are measuring in the computer or when building software, use pixel or use percentage, right? We are going to be talking about the percentage and also pixel. If you remember our last class, we did more of pixel, where we'll be able to control well, we're able to control the properties of what of our images. So let's check out the properties of our images now. Now, if you come here, you notice that it affects these two images automatically. It resize our image, right? Automatically, it writes what it resize our image. So this is what you can see here. We have this and we have this. Now, another thing also I'm going to do is that let's say, okay, I want to increase the font or change the font size of this. Let me say I want to give color, the body color of my entire web application, right? I don't want to give the body color. I don't want to give the body color, right? So I want to give the color, I want to give a new color of my web application, just the color. So what I need to do is here is that I am done with this, right? I am done with this element. I think I don't no longer need this again. I don't longer need to work on this again. This is what we call internal word CSS. Let's say, okay, I want to call the body. When you call it, you see that the body element is called the body, right? So what I need to do here is that I'll come here and call the body. When I call the body, then I open my opening tag and my closing tag of the body. Let's say I want to give the background of the body. If you notice earlier, everything inside this HTML is wrapped into inside what? Inside your body. If you want to confirm that, what you need to do is to right click and come to inspect. Then when you click on inspect, you see that we have what? We have the body. So opening tag of the body and closing tag of the body. If you open this, you notice that inside the body we have the p element, right? This is the p element and this is the bracket. We have another p element. So everything inside your HTML should be in your body. So anything inside the body is what is visible to what? To the browser. Okay, let's go back. I want to add the background. So what I need to call is BRO, background color. So that background color, I just need to look for a good background color, yellow. Then I'll make it a little bit lighter, a little bit lighter. So now this background color is actually referring to the entire what background of our what of our website. So when you come here, you notice that we've been able to change what our background color. We've been able to change our background color. We also learn how to leverage on image, use the images to change what their background color. This is how you can use internal what CSS. So internal CSS have what we call the the uh, the style. Now this can only work for just a single page. What of if you are using a multiple page, right? You are working on a multiple page and you want to link your different pages together. Does it mean that you are going to be writing each line, you are going to be writing CSS on each of the line, which is very very stressful, right? So I don't encourage you to use external or inline, internal rather, internal or inline. But if you are working on a single page website, okay, let me show you some of the project I just did. Like all the project here, almost all the project here I use internal to do that. Internal CSS. So when they call me, you see that I have my internal CSS. This is actually one of the projects we are going to be think kind of a project idea. So we look at this project now, right? Which we are going to be building kind of this is what we call a delicious food menu. Now this is how you can build your food menu. This is actually one of the projects we are going to be building very soon. Maybe by next week we'll take it upon ourselves to say, okay, this is what we are going to learn. We'll learn and we'll build it. So we don't just wake up start building advanced project in a day. You need to understand the element, the syntax. If you don't know the syntax, how can you build it? So if you learn all the syntax, all those small small syntax, the one we are building, as we are using those syntax, we say okay okay okay, this is what this man is talking about, this is how it works. Now another thing also we are going to look at is that I also use almost what I use here is what we call external what CSS, right? Don't bother this thing, you understand all from A to Z when we get to learn more. So another one also, I think I did a kind of a resume, right? Like a CV, popularly known in Nigeria. So I did a resume. You can see a very simple resume application. I just did. Can just fill in your information and then type in every other information. Another one here is we have news application. So this is just a very simple news small page. So these are the small small projects you will be building before you start building advanced. But what I use in building all these things is an inline CSS, but sorry, internal CSS. But I don't encourage you using external word CSS, right? I don't encourage you using external CSS. So let's move straight to um let's move straight to external CSS. I don't encourage internal, because when you start building larger projects, you are not going to be sticking with internal. So learn how to use external CSS. Any question before I move to external CSS? Where we can be able to link our CSS. Any question? Any question? If you don't have question, give me thumbs up. If you don't have question, give me thumbs up. Okay. Yes? Yes. It's an internal CSS, yeah. So it goes in between opening tag and the closing tag of your CSS. So this is how you are going to structure it. But however, I am I am copying this now, right? I'm cutting this, removing this, right? I'm removing it so that I can link it to my external CSS. Now let's talk about the internal CSS. So external CSS is like, okay, go on. Which of them? Which of the element? Yeah, it affect all the whole images. If any element has, if you have like 100 images there that is under img, maybe I call that img element, it affect the whole images. But there is a way of dividing each section of our website, which we are going to be talking more, what we call the div, right? Then we have the classes where you can be able to separate the b from the a, right? You can use it to separate each section of your website and style that section specifically. Let's say for instance you want to add different color in your web application. Each of the section you are going to be adding what we call a class, right? A class is a name you use to identify each section of your website. Then you apply any kind of color you want. Let's say for instance, like you just notice here, I try to add a weight on my image. It affect the whole entire images. What if I want don't want the all the image to have the same information, and I'm using internal or external CSS? What I'm going to do is to use the word class, to use class to differentiate them, right? I call the class name, then I call the image name. So we are going to be looking at that feature. So you need to take it easy so that there are some people who are beginners here, so that it will not look a bit difficult for them to cope with the class. So any other question? Okay, let's move on, guys. Okay, good evening. Okay, last question, please. Oh, you're gone. Trump, oh, put my stomach now. What I do? I think you know. You know. So carry it. We try to view your. You try to view your website. Okay. If you can see my screen, give me a thumbs up. Okay. Okay. Let me share back again. When did you notice that one? Hmm? But all this while now, but some people are seeing my screen. Please use laptop. Please use laptop. If you are using laptop, it will be fine. With your network, it's not at all. Not with the team. I'm using. Okay, let's continue. So we just added. We just linked our. So I hope I'm recording. I want to confirm if I'm recording. Oh, the record did not stop. Nice.